I was half a block from my driveway when a golf cart with flashing yellow lights swerved in front of my truck and blocked me like I was about to invade a military base. Dolores, our HOA president and self-proclaimed queen of Oak Ridge Pines, barked at me to turn around. Behind her were two fake security guards' badges swinging in the sun, ready to push me off my own street. And that was the moment I realized the road to my home was about to become a battlefield. I've lived in Oak Ridge Pines for 12 years. My name's Mark Langley, Army Reserve veteran homeowner father and apparently enemy number one in Dolores's little kingdom. You'd know her instantly oversized sunglasses, platinum hair that never moved, clipboard clutched like it was the Constitution itself. She thrived on rules nobody else read, and that day she decided leaving the neighborhood to pick up my kid from school was a crime against her empire. She leaned into my window, voice sharp enough to cut steel. "You left without notifying us." Article 8, Section 3. Suspicious activity. I blinked. Suspicious activity. Dolores, I grabbed my kid, not stormed Area 51. She didn't laugh. She never laughed. She signaled to her guards like she was commanding troops, cheap uniforms. Craigslist muscles, laminated badges that screamed fake authority. One stepped forward, reaching for my truck. That's when I pulled out my phone and hit record. My voice stayed calm, but my blood was boiling. "Touch my vehicle, and you'll be explaining to the sheriff why you're impersonating law enforcement." I pointed to the faded street sign behind her. County Road. Not HOA property. Her jaw twitched, remembering last year when I embarrassed her with zoning maps over my trailer. She'd had to refund everyone's parking fines, and she hated me ever since. She hissed, "Move, or I'll call the cops." I smirked. "Do it. I'll be right here explaining how you tried to stop a homeowner from reaching his own driveway." For a split second, she froze. Then her face turned red enough to match her lipstick. But I wasn't done. I knew this wasn't just about a blocked road. It was about power, and she'd gone too far. The next morning, before Dolores finished her first cup of coffee, I was on the phone with county land records. A clerk named Janice, voice sharp as nails, confirmed what I already knew: Oak Ridge Pines roads were county property. HOA maintained them, but they didn't own them, and they damn sure couldn't police them. She emailed me the certified deed within minutes. I printed 2 copies, one for me, one for the sheriff. By noon, my complaint was filed, complete with dash cam footage of Dolores waving her fake army around. Detective Warren called me that same day. No small talk, just facts. "Mr. Langley, we reviewed your video. That's not just HOA overstepping, that's unlawful detainment." My stomach dropped. He said one of Dolores's guards already had a conviction for impersonating a public official, and she'd hired him to intimidate us. I hung up the phone and just sat at my kitchen table staring at the papers. For a moment, doubt crept in. Was I pushing too hard? Should I just let it go, avoid the drama? Dolores had the board, the bylaws, the illusion of power. I was just one guy with a camera. Maybe I was making life harder for my family. For a second, I thought about giving up. But then I remembered my neighbors. Elaine, the retired nurse, fined for a wreath she didn't even hang. Tom, whose son was followed home by a guard for standing near the tennis courts. People had been bullied into silence for years. If I quit now, Dolores would keep steamrolling every family here. I wasn't just fighting for me, I was fighting for all of us. Turns out I wasn't alone. Detective Warren told me my video had already leaked online, title "HOA President Blocks Veteran from His Own Home." It was spreading fast. And by the time the next HOA meeting rolled around, the clubhouse was packed. Dolores sat at the front table, clipboard mysteriously missing, flanked by the treasurer and secretary who looked like they wanted to vanish into thin air. I sat near Frank, a quiet machinist who rarely spoke. He leaned over and whispered, "I sent my ring footage to the sheriff. 2 angles. That gave me courage." Dolores slammed her gavel, but the room buzzed louder. "Where's the budget report?" someone shouted. "Not tonight," she barked. Another voice rose. "You haven't released one in a year." That was my cue. I stood, walked to the front, and laid down the county plat map and a notice from the sheriff's office. You don't own the road. You never did, and you used HOA money to hire fake security guards who threatened us. That's financial misconduct, possibly criminal. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Dolores reached for the documents, but I slid them away. You'll want to wait until the sheriff finishes his audit. Then from the back I moved to suspend President Dolores pending review. Frank's voice followed I second. Dozens of hands shot up. Dolores sputtered, "This is not a recognized vote," but her own treasurer stood trembling. I agree with the suspension. I don't want to be part of this anymore. The secretary backed away too. For the first time, Dolores looked afraid. The next morning, the sheriff executed a search warrant. What they found made the neighborhood reel over $28,000 missing funneled into infrastructure maintenance. A burner phone full of threats to residents. By that weekend, Channel 7 News ran the headline, HOA Tyrant Taken Down by Homeowner with a Dash Cam. Frank even appeared on TV grinning in his machinist uniform, dubbing Dolores Clipboard Napoleon. But it went deeper. The Office of the State Inspector General showed up with subpoenas. They told me our HOA might have been a test site for a statewide shell company scam, phony firms like Civic Shield Solutions siphoning HOA dues into private accounts. Dolores hadn't just been on a power trip, she'd been signing off payments that tied into organized fraud. I pulled the community together in the center one night. No podium, just coffee cookies and an open mic. Neighbors poured out their stories, fines for decorations they never hung, threats for asking questions, kids followed by men with radios. By the end of the night, I had a box full of evidence and 12 sworn statements. I dropped it at the prosecutor's office the next morning. They opened a racketeering and wire fraud case. The treasurer got caught emptying a secret fund at a gas station. The secretary skipped town. Dolores's empire crumbled piece by piece. Then came the trial. I wore a navy jacket that hadn't seen daylight since my brother's wedding. The courtroom was packed with reporters, neighbors, city officials. Dolores sat at the defense table, face pale, no sunglasses, no clipboard. She looked nothing like the woman who once screamed at me over a mailbox color. She looked like someone who knew the walls were closing in. I testified, walking the jury through the day I was blocked from my own driveway. The dash cam footage, the county maps, the forged minutes. The prosecutor handed me a waiver Dolores had signed authorizing Civic Shield to run surveillance gate overrides, even backyard patrols. No vote, no approval, just her signature. Then came the bombshell. IT specialists confirmed she'd installed hidden cameras on utility poles routing feeds to a server in her garage. Footage of backyard's windows, even audio from private porch conversations. The courtroom gasped. Even the judge leaned forward. Dolores's lawyer wilted. He asked for a recess, then came back to beg for a plea deal. She pled guilty to 8 counts misuse of funds, falsification of records, conspiracy, criminal surveillance. The judge sentenced her to 5 years in state prison, 3 years supervised release, and full restitution of $78,000. Her house was seized. Her reign ended right there in that courtroom. That's where my story ends. Not with balloons or barbecues, but with Dolores led away in handcuffs, her clipboard empire dissolved into nothing. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this: bullies only win when we stay quiet.